Good day, everyone, and welcome to Home at the Hollow. My name is Glennis, and welcome to my kitchen. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me today. Today's recipe is, of course, we are celebrating all things pumpkin, and these are for pumpkin scones. A couple of extra little steps you don't necessarily have to use, but I'm going to, and without further ado, pumpkin scones. I'm starting my pumpkin scones, and I've got a couple of cups of just plain flour. I've got a combination of brown sugar, baking soda, baking powder, some spices, and a bit of brown sugar. And y'all already know I will drop all of the measurements in the description box below. And now if you want to sift this, you're more than welcome to. I've already actually gone through my flour and sugar and made sure everything was happy and just like I wanted it to be. And what I have here is I believe half a cup of pumpkin puree. I've got 1 beaten egg. So I have my pumpkin. I've got 3 tablespoons of cream, half and half, whole milk, whatever you have. An egg, very well beaten egg. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of molasses. And the molasses really, excuse me, does add a lot to this recipe. And I'm going to just give this a good stir. A lot of moisture. Molasses is going to add a lot of moisture to these. So we're going to get these mixed up as quickly as possible. I'm going to just add a little bit. Here, let's see. Let's see. Sorry about that, y'all. Whoops. And let me go and grab my butter. I've got 8 tablespoons of really well chilled butter here. And what I've done, if you want to cube it up, that's totally fine. What I've done is I've gone ahead and shredded this up, trying to keep it as cold as I can. And of course in the bowl would help too. And we want to just mix this just as, quickly as we can and hope that it comes together. I can see I'm making a big mess. I ordinarily really do like to do this with my hands, but I've added my cold, very well chilled shredded butter, 8 tablespoons or a stick of butter. And this is really something. I'm pretty good at making a mess in the kitchen, but these are going to be really extra good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flour my counter here. Go ahead and dump all of this out. Let's see how we can get this together. Yeah, I need to step back just a bit. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm working camera angles, and oh my goodness, you know, it's always a challenge. And the trick is you want to be able to see your little bits of butter. You don't want this to get to the point where it's warm and already, you know, kind of mixed in with everything. I like to be able to see. I think y'all can see little bits of the butter. I think y'all can see. Yeah. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this out about 11, you know, 11 or so by 11 by 7, 11 by 8, something like that. But that's basically, I'm just turning it over until the very little bits. Now I did add just like maybe a 1/16 of a cup of flour to flour my surface. You don't want to add too much more than that. I don't want to really change anything too much. And certainly if it's still sticky by then, and if you can't handle this with your hands, don't keep adding flour. Really what you should do is to get maybe some olive oil or vegetable oil or whatever kind of oil you have and just grease your hands. You don't want to keep adding to this. Let's see if we can just get this rolled out a little bit. I believe this was my grandmother's. I believe it was. I think it was. I'm not really sure. I think that's about right. Whoop, sorry, y'all. Maybe I should just back this up a little bit. It's been a challenge today. But there we go. And I'm going to get my pizza cutter, and we're going to transfer this to a baking sheet, cut it, and go from there. So this is roughly 10 by 6.5, 7, something like that. And I'm going to take my trusty pizza cutter and go halfway this way. And let's see. And this is roughly halfway. There we go. I probably could have done that a little better, but that's not bad. Now, if you want a scone, whoops, if I can get this like this, that's totally fine. This one's going to be, I think I'm going to, actually what I'm going to do is cut this one in half like that, I believe y'all can see. Some of the bigger ones, yes, I'm going to cut, but then there's some here that, you know, I wish I could say, oh yes, I do this perfectly every time, but really, no, I don't. But I'm going to just place these and kind of get these out of the way a little bit. And I'm starting to stick just ever so slightly. Let's see if I can move this. Yikes, yikes. And there we go. Now, at this point, what you can do is leave it like right here on your baking sheet and cover it well. Either refrigerate it or freeze it. I prefer to refrigerate it at least a half an hour before I put it in a very, very hot oven. But you know, you can freeze this just like this and use it just like this. But I'm going to cover this and I'm going to refrigerate this for half an hour. But in the meantime, we're going to be making a couple of different glazes. While the scones are I'm anxiously awaiting to put those in the oven, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make actually 2 glazes for this particular scone, and that's just to, celebrate pumpkins and make them extra, extra pretty. So I've got roughly a cup of confectioner sugar here that I'm going to sift, and mostly because I'm a little lazy and I don't want to take any chances of having any lumps or bumps or anything, unhappy looking in there. And that's okay for now. I'm going to add a couple of spoonfuls of cream, half and half, whatever it is that you have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just mix this up until I can, see the desired consistency that I want. I'm not going to pour this. I guess I could pour it, but what I want it to do is to just be a glaze for the top of the scones. And I'm going to get this and keep this going, and I'm going to spare y'all, and I'll be back in a moment. Well, that didn't take as long as I thought it would, but anyway, I just kind of wanted to show y'all kind of what I'm talking about is, you want to be able to take a little bit in your spoon and just turn it out and see what it looks like on your spoon once you've turned it out. Because you don't want it too thick, because there's one more step here. And I think that, this is going to be just fine. That was a cup, 2 to 3 tablespoons of cream, half and half milk, whatever it is that you have. Now for this particular glaze, it's going to be a little bit thicker. I've got a combination of, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and if you want to add a little bit of cloves, that's okay too. I'll put everything below, and a tablespoon of pumpkin puree. I've already sifted my confectioner sugar, and that's a cup. I'm going to add a little bit of cream, and I want this to be a little bit thicker than the other one, because this one I want to stay on top of the scone. So my scones are almost out of the oven, but what I wanted to do is show you. Now this is the first glaze, and yikes, this is the second one. I think that you can see the difference, but what I'm going to add to both of them is just a smidge. Now I do have, and I don't want to change the consistency to these much, and that's just a smidge of that and a little bit of that. This is, if you have vanilla extract, that's fine. If you have, like, I hope that you've made is like my spiced extract just for the season, and we'll just give those a little bit of a stir in. And it's done absolutely totally fine. Hasn't changed it very much. And we will be back in a moment. These are there's like 2 minutes left, and I'm ready for breakfast. I've just taken these out of the oven, and they're still pretty warm. They're still so warm that you can hear my fan is still going. Now, if you want, with the first glaze, there it goes. Thank you. With the first glaze, if you want, you can take, let's see, let me just take a small one and just give it a good kerplunk like that. But you know what? I don't think so. I'm going to just give it a goodly swirl. I'll have to spread it out a little bit. It's going to be great. Oh, it's going to be so good. The second glaze is really to kind of reinforce the pumpkin flavor, the spices that are inside, And yeah. And then we're going to take this one. I've grabbed my fork and I'm really hoping that it'll just, yeah, there we go. That'll work out just great. I can't wait to taste one of these. These are going to be so good. And, you know, of course, if you want, it's up to y'all, but, you know, if you want to make them bigger, or just maybe have a couple. But basically, yeah, these are so good. So good. So I'm going to finish doing this, and we're going to have a taste test in just a minute. Now, I do have some sprinkles here. I think I'm going to do a few sprinkles. Let's see. I don't want to pick black. I'm hoping that's not black. No. See how orange looks. Wow, that came out quick. A little bit of orange. Let's see what this one, how this one looks. You know, just a few little bright spots in your scone is not a bad thing. And if you want to leave them just like they are, that's, you know, okay too. But I mean, you know, how sweet. How sweet are these? Taste test. So oh my goodness, we're back. I hope that y'all enjoyed the video. And excuse me, I think y'all can see some of my scones. I have a few others that these are going to be good. I mean, come on. But I do have one little one set aside. I did want to take a taste test because, I mean, I don't want to steer y'all wrong, right? I should have shown you what it looked like. Sorry. Let's just break into this. A huge thumbs up. These are really super, super tasty. The slightest of pumpkin comes through and a little bit of cinnamon. And you know, the thing that I really like about these, they're not, you know, they don't come on really strong. The toppings, the glaze, the two glazes, it is not too much. I really quite like it. And no one said you had to glaze them with sugar. But these are delicious. I'm going to finish this one off. And I hope that y'all give this a try. Celebrate pumpkins. They're so healthy for you. Celebrate the season. And I want to thank y'all again for joining me here home at the Hollow. Goodbye, y'all.